How we doing? Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, I'm going to be talking about the LEAP program. Good afternoon, first of all, and giving you an introduction to it. We're going to do some role playing together, so I need people to be engaged and into doing some role plays with me. Real quickly, it's got 7 tools. 7 communication tools. I'm going to get into this in detail, obviously. But what is it? It's an evidence-based practice. There is research behind it, despite what some people I've just heard told me. To create alliances and engagement with people who have serious mental illness. It consists of 7 tools used in a context of an engagement strategy. Origins of LEAP, for those of you who know about psychotherapies, it comes from client-centered therapy. So there's certain tools that come from Carl Rogers' humanistic client-centered therapy, also from cognitive behavioral therapy and motivational interviewing. I should just note, I kind of jumped over it. There was an inpatient 6-session short-term psychotherapy program that Aaron T. Beck, who's the father of cognitive psychology, Dr. Beck and I had a grant to do. And it was from this 6-session inpatient program to increase motivation to accept treatment, and people who didn't understand they were ill. That LEAP got lifted out of it. It's not a psychotherapy. Anyone can. We teach this to law enforcement, to judges, to family members, to mental health professionals, to public defenders. We just trained like 700 public defenders last week through our nonprofit, which is named after my brother. If you haven't figured that out, our board was. Really insisted on it. It was really kind. It's not directive. It differs from those psychotherapies in that we don't tell people what to do. We don't tell people what they should do. So language is really important if you want to learn this communication technique. It's like learning a new language. And I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that. SAMHSA selected it for their family toolkit. I have yet to see it in that toolkit, but that's something that we were excited about. And I already went over the tools this morning. Was anybody not there? The overview, the big overview. Okay, so I'd like to sort of get right into it, if that's all right. Now, I want you to imagine a tool belt. It can be Craftsman, it can be Dolce & Gabbana, I don't care. But on one side, you've got all the communication tools you currently possess. Okay? I mean, you all know how to listen, right? And be empathic and find areas of agreement. Do you really need to hear this from another psychologist? No, but you'll see it's a little bit different. On the left side, just imagine 7 empty pockets to put these tools in. You're going to mix and match with things you already do. If you like this approach and if you learned something from it today, you're going to mix and match it. All right? It's going to look like steps, but it's really not. I can't say that enough. Because people learn reflective listening, which is the first tool that we teach. And we spend the most time on this because it's LEAP reflective listening, is how we like to refer to it, to distinguish it from just reflective listening generally, is really kind of difficult and counterintuitive and a little scary to do. I'm going to give you some examples, and we're going to do a role play around this. So we spend more time on it, but that doesn't mean all you should be doing is reflective listening. And I'll give you some examples of how to blend these tools together. So somebody with serious mental illness, and these phrases, by the way, are coming from research studies, so they're verbatim in almost every case of what I'm going to show you. So person in this study with one of these serious mental illness says, I don't need any medicine, there's nothing wrong with me, angrily. So you're saying you don't need medications, there's nothing wrong with you, right? So there's 3 elements to this. The first one is to preface it with you're saying, if I heard you, let me see if I got this straight, right? Some kind of preface. Then you repeat back, preferably in your own words. This one's almost verbatim. I don't like it verbatim because you'll be accused of being a tape recorder or a parrot. And then you ask the person, did they feel understood? I mean, did you ever get into an argument with somebody, a spouse, a teenager, a friend, and it's like, I understand you, and the whole time you're thinking, you don't freaking understand me at all, You have to check with the person. I mean, you don't have to. We'd like you to check with the person if you're going to use this approach. Right? Did I get it right? Did I hear you right? Here's another example. I know that you're with them and they're trying to kill me. So now the delusion includes you. Can you reflect that back? I have many more examples of this where mentally ill offspring are accusing usually the mothers of poisoning them. It's happened over and over again in my practice. I know that you're with them and they're trying to kill me. If I heard you, I'm with the people who are trying to kill you. Did I hear that right? Yeah, you heard that right. So are you admitting it? I'll tell you what we do with that in a few moments. You should never have said those things. You said to the judge, you're the crazy one, not me. What I'm hearing is, I should never have said what I did to the judge, and I'm crazy. Correct? You see the three elements? When you called the police, they abused me, and I was wrongfully locked up in the hospital. So if I heard you, when I called the police, they abused you and wrongfully locked you up. Did I hear that right? Yeah, well, are you going to do it again? I'm going to give you some tools for how we deal with somebody either asking the next question or misinterpreting what we're doing when we reflectively listen. Oftentimes, people that I'm doing this with will think I agree with them. I don't rush to correct that misconception. May seem dishonest. We'll discuss that during the Q&A. Am I agreeing with what the person said? Raise your hand if you think I'm agreeing, so I can straighten you out. No, no one's going to raise their hand now. I'm not agreeing. I'm reflecting. It might be misinterpreted by the person as I'm agreeing. I get that. I want that, in fact, oftentimes when that happens, because there's other ways that we can move from that into a deeper connection where the person feels genuinely respected and not dismissed. So for this, I need a few volunteers. If you could raise your hand. Let me tell you what you're going to do. You're going to stand on your head and with one hand. No, I'm not going to make you delusional and have anosognosia. This is a far easier role play. I'm going to say something that a young man with schizoaffective disorder said to me. The first time I'm probably going to do it, I will do it the way he did it, which was angry and fast. Then I'll slow it down. And your job is simply to reflect it back. So if I heard you and reflect back what he said, and there's a lot of elements to this, all right? This is a didactic exercise. Don't come away from this exercise thinking, I've got to reflect back everything the person says. Absolutely not. But for the purpose of this exercise, I want the volunteers to try to get it right, try to get everything. So you reflect it back. Did I hear you right? Did I understand? What I'm hearing is, reflect it back, ask if I feel understood, all right? Who's going to help? Come on. Wow, I scared everybody this morning. Thank you. What's your name? Shannon, okay. Let me start with you, and then other people please volunteer, because we can't put Shannon on the hot seat by herself. Oh, you did too? Thank you. What's your name? Alex. Okay, Shannon and Alex. And we'll move for more volunteers if we need them. We probably will. All right, you ready?
Okay.
Hey, Shannon, I'm not mentally ill, and I don't need the damn medicine. If you could help me with anything, it's with the people upstairs. Every night they flush the toilets to communicate with the people who are trying to kill me.
Okay, that's a lot. So if I hear you, can you say that again?
Yeah. Shannon. Oh.
Can you make that a little bit simpler?
Oftentimes we go through this 11 times. You're all going to be repeating this phrase in your sleep tonight. Shannon, I'm not mentally ill. I don't need the damn medicine. If you can help me with anything, it's with those people upstairs. Every night they flush the toilets to communicate with the people who are trying to kill me.
So what I'm hearing is that you are not sick and you don't need the medicine, but I can help you with the people who are upstairs who are flushing the toilet
I don't
all
need your
night
effing help.
and trying to kill you.
Yeah. Nice job. They're not trying. They're planning it. Really nice job. You almost did so well that I almost stopped you. But you did, one of the common things is you reacted. You changed something that he said.
It's because I have bad memory.
Well,
and I do this with my daughter, so I mean this is the conversation that we get into because she gets mad because that's not what she said because
you get it wrong, she says?
Because I get it wrong, yeah.
Okay. Do you ask her for permission to try again? Can I try again? Because I really want to understand you.
We have had that conversation because she knows exactly what I'm doing when I do it.
Okay. What does she think you're doing?
Restating something.
She knows.
I mean,
okay.
she knows.
Okay.
We've got this routine down. Yeah.
Okay. All right, can I move to Alex?
Yes, please.
Let you off the hook? Yes, please. Let me just tell you, this is well within the limits of short-term memory, and I'll be specific at the end. Alex, I'm
Hello.
not mentally ill. Hi, listen, I'm not mentally ill. I don't need the damn medicine. If you could help me with anything, it'd be with those people upstairs. Every night they flush the toilets to communicate with the people who are trying to kill me.
So it sounds to me that you're not mentally ill, that you need help with the people that are flushing the
I don't
toilet.
need your effing help. Keep going.
Because these people are trying to kill you. Is that correct?
Yeah, very nice job. In real life, that might be enough, by the way. But in this didactic exercise, you omitted some important things that he said. No one's given me the other ones, which I'm not going to share all of them. Shannon gave me the reflecting one. How about a third person? Okay, right over here. I'm going to make a generalization about the sexes. Is it true that men can't name colors? That women do it better? That's been my personal experience. I have no idea what color shirt you're wearing. And I wanted to say the man in the red shirt. I'm like, that's not red. But I really, oh, salmon. See, a woman just said salmon. All right, what's your name? What's your name?
I thought that was part of the deal. David.
Dave? Hey, Dave, I'm not mentally ill. I don't need the damn medicine. If you could help me with anything, it'd be with those people upstairs. Every night they flush the toilet to communicate with the people who are trying to kill me.
If I understand you correctly, you're not mentally ill. You don't need the damn medicine. And the people upstairs are flushing the toilets to communicate with people trying to kill you. Is that correct?
Yeah, very good. You also omitted something important to him. But that's okay. You did a really good job. You guys are doing a much better job than most people. No, seriously, I'm not kidding. You are so close to getting it right. Nobody's. Let me just tell you what they are because nobody's doing it. So, how do you diminish what was said? People in this role play will often. Well, do we have another volunteer? Maybe they'll do it. I'm trying to, illuminate the common old habits that get in the way of a reflective listening. Well, let me tell you what people often do that you guys aren't doing. So you think you're not mentally ill and you feel you don't need the medicine. That's diminishing what the person said. So words like you think, you feel, you believe there's people upstairs. It's like drawing a line in the sand and saying, I'm over here and you're over there, right? It's creating a barrier. So I would invite you to really lose those words when you're reflecting back what somebody said. You think, you feel, you believe. Those are the three most notorious ones. And then there's lots of ways we react. Problem solving, rather than reflecting, we react. So how do you know these people are trying to kill you? That's not reflecting back what the person said. That's moving on to another topic. There's lots of different examples. Just trying to think of another one real quickly on the spot. You could also, I'm trying to remember the example Shannon gave me. Didn't you give me an example that I said was reacting? You don't remember anything, do you? She's like, I'm having trouble with my memory. I've got a really bad short-term memory, by the way. I forget what it was. Oh, yeah, that was a reaction. I would call it a reaction. She reacted, not reflected. She thought I was asking for help. And Alex did the same thing, right? Empathizing, not reflecting. That's a very common old habit that interferes with reflective listening that none of you guys are doing. So I am very disappointed in the three of you. No, seriously, in face-to-face meetings like this, it's typically 11 times before we get it right. So this really is genuinely a select group. I mean that. And Gabriella, who's our deputy executive director, is over here. Where are you? I just saw you back there. Can attest to that. Is it true? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'm really I'm glad you're all tuned in. So empathizing, not reflecting, is like, wow, that must be scary, or wow, you must be angry, right? Or you sound really upset. That's great. Part of LEAP is empathizing. But when I'm trying to teach reflective listening, which you all seem to be, or at least our volunteers seem to be adept at, it's important not to react, omit things, diminish things, or choose empathy over, because it's an opportunity when you can reflect back what somebody's saying. So let me give you some examples. Well, first, let me suggests why we resist reflecting back many important things that people tell us. We fear we're going to make it worse. Can you make a delusion worse by reflecting it back? So let me see if I understand you, son. I've been poisoning you with the food I've given you. Is that correct? The mother I've worked with, I encouraged her to reflect that back, and it actually had very good results for her. Am I going to make the delusion worse that he's being poisoned by his mother? No, it's a fixed false belief, right? What about the poor insight? No, it's anosognosia. I'm not going to make it worse by saying, and as all the volunteers said, so you're not mentally ill, Javier. You're not mentally ill, right? Did I understand that correctly? Yeah, you're not going to make my belief I'm not mentally ill worse. Negative attitudes about treatment. You don't need the damn medicine. A lot of people, when they diminish, here's another example. So you're not mentally ill and you don't want the medicine. It's subtle. You don't want the medicine is really different than saying, I don't need the damn medicine. Really different. We worry about we worry about being asked something we cannot. With this young man, let me tell you how I would reflect it back. Oh, and the middle part that you all missed. Jumped right over that, sorry. I'll put my finger up when I get to it. So Javier, let me see if I understand you. And what I had to do with this young man is put my hands up in the universal sign of not being threatening. Hold on, can I say something? Yeah. If I understood you, you're not mentally ill, you don't need the damn medicine. If I could help you with anything, it'd be with those people who are trying to kill you and they're flushing toilets to communicate. Did I understand that? Right? So if you could help me with anything was a challenge. He wasn't asking me for help. So it's a hard one to sort of detect. But and the context was an inpatient psychiatric unit. And he didn't think I could help him with anything. He had anosognosia. We worry about injuring the relationship, that somehow we're being dishonest, or that when the person asks us what we really think, sounds like you agree with me, what do you really think, we're going to be disappointing. But again, I'm going to address that when I get to the other tools. Our emotions can also interfere. We feel too frustrated or annoyed, defeated, right? Or sad, especially if it's a loved one. It can be really, really sad that we can't, that keeps us from reflecting back some really difficult things they're saying to us, or anxious or even afraid to reflect things back that are really, things like you're trying to kill me. So what about delaying giving your opinion? First of all, why do it? Anyone have any ideas why I suggest? I heard somebody. It's unsolicited, absolutely, right? We want to give a solicited opinion. How many of the women in this room have been pregnant and given birth? Did you raise your hands? How many of you got free advice from strangers on the street? And did you feel it was irritating? Raise your hand. Annoying? Wow, look at all the hands going up. All right, and I bet each of you, and tell me if I'm wrong, had a girlfriend, a sister, an aunt, a friend, a mother, whose advice you sought during that first trimester especially. Yeah, I'm getting nods. What's the difference? Two things. There's a relationship, right? You don't want to be the stranger on the street giving unsolicited opinions about what the person should do. Would be beneficial even for them to do. You want to become that trusted loved one who's being asked for their opinion. So that's why we delay giving opinions that are going to be disappointing or even hurtful to the person. Like, you've asked me several times, could be wrong, I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. I think you do have a mental illness. I hope we don't have to argue about this. I'm previewing the opinion tool, the opinion strategy. Promise to answer your question about why I said, why did you tell the judge I was schizophrenic? I promise I'm going to answer that question about what I said to the judge. If it's all right with you, I'd like to hear more about, and I'd fill in that blank with something I know the person wants to talk about. And what do I do with what they're talking about? Opportunity for reflective listening and empathizing with them. So there's several things that are accomplished by delaying. Not hurting the person, not putting a wedge in the relationship, getting a solicited opinion instead of an unsolicited opinion, and the other one is reflective listening and empathy as they're talking. So you get a lot out of delaying. If you can't delay, give your opinion. No, I want to know right now. Then give your opinion. And perhaps you'll use some of the elements that I'm going to teach you right now. Here's another example. Let's say Terry asked me, it was Terry, right? And it was Matt that she was married to? Are you here, Terry? Jerry. I am telling you, I have really bad short-term, she's like, short-term memory problems. I really do, lately. I'm going to get assessed. I'll tell you. So Jerry, married to Matt, asked me, well, do you think I'm married to Matt? I'm going to tell you what I think. I like to keep listening to your views on this. I'm learning some things I think I should know that I didn't know. Can I tell you later? So there's 3 elements in this as well. Promise to answer the question. Honor the question. I'm going to answer. Get the person. See if you can invite the person to talk about something that's important to them. That's your cue to engage with respectful, non-judgmental communication. Remember from this morning, the research on therapeutic alliance that I reviewed? This is the opportunity to build that relationship with reflective listening and empathy in particular. Can I tell you later what I think? Tim Beck, Aaron T. Beck, talks about this a lot in cognitive therapy. You want the locus of control in the conversation. He doesn't talk about it a lot in published work, but in work we did together. He wants the locus of control to be with our client, with the person we're trying to help. So they control whether they hear the opinion or not, right? Can I tell you later? You're also asking permission, which is the way we humble ourselves a little bit. I'm not going to just blurt out what I think. Notice I didn't use the word but. I'll tell you, but first, can we talk about, and why is that? I know when I hear the word but, this is what happens to me. I stop listening. So Javier, I see your point, and it was my girlfriend. I see your point, and you're making a really good point, and you think this, that, and the other thing. Okay. But, I've stopped listening because I know she's going to contradict me. We joke about this. We both don't use but anymore. So here's some other examples. Somebody asked me, do you think I'm sick? That's the term they use. Well, so I like to use people's terms if they use it, if they use words that I don't particularly like. I promise I'll tell you whether I think you're sick. First, if it's okay with you, I'd like to hear more about how you ended up in the hospital or how you ended up in jail. Would it be okay if I tell you later? Ask permission. I'll answer your question about the CIA. Somebody asked me if I believe they're being surveilled by the CIA. Promise I'll answer that question about the CIA. First, can I ask you to give me some more details about what happened? This was from a real videotape interview, and he was talking about being surveilled by them for the last 2 months. Is that okay? Would that be all right? You've asked me whether I think you're delusional. I promise to answer before I tell you. Could you tell me more about that conference you went to, or that doctor said you weren't married to Matt? Let's say I was talking to Terry and it was real what was going on. Jerry. Who would like to take over for me? I'm done. I'm done. I'm totally done. Gosh. Well, it does sound like Terry and Jerry, right? So I would get Jerry talking more about something that was important to her. And would that be okay? And how do I find out what's important to her? Paying attention and listening with my third ear, listening with my heart to what's really salient emotionally for the person. Somebody asked me, do you think I should take these drugs? Promise to answer your question. Before I do, I want you to know that your opinion about this is more important than mine. Can I tell you later? I'm jumping over a little bit. Is your opinion more important than that of the person you're talking to? Who thinks it is? Anyone? I mean, any psychiatrists in the room? Do you think you guys went to a lot of medical schools. No. Hey, I'm supposedly this really well-known psychologist who's written a lot of things and done a lot of research, and I'm an expert. Shouldn't my opinion be more important? Nice. Who said that? I'm putting that on a slide. It's not about a new slide. It's not about you. That's great. No, the opinion of the person we're trying to engage with is what's going to determine their behavior. It's going to determine their attitudes and their behavior, what they do. And that's what I'm most interested in accomplishing. Like with my brother Henry, it was accepting medication. And in particular, I wanted him to be on a long-acting injectable because the engagement rate, the adherence rate is much higher on long-acting injectables than on oral medications. So I'm not receiving any money from pharma, and even if I was, most of the long-acting injectables, most of them are generic now. So no, the opinion of the person I'm trying to help is by far the most important opinion. Well, what about when you get pushed, right? I want to know. What do you think? So we call these the 3 A's just to help remember them. Apologize. If you think it's going to be disappointing or hurtful or agitating for the person to hear your opinion, that you think that they have a mental illness, or you think that, I think it's a good idea to, notice my language. I think you should take the drugs, they will help you. I would never say that, well, hopefully never, say that to somebody with anosognosia. I don't need the effing drugs, they don't do anything for me, and I don't need them. So, I'd like you to try them, but I don't say because I think they can help you. Now, if the person has insight, I was talking to somebody earlier today, or was it last night, who said that with her son, he had sleep problems, and she was able to talk with him about, well, does the, whatever it was, Seroquel help you sleep at night? Well, yeah, it does. Well, what about taking the higher dose your psychiatrist wants you to take so you can sleep better? And so there was a reason, but it's not for the mental illness, right? So apologize for opinions that are going to be hurtful or disappointing or controversial. Acknowledge your fallibility. There's lots of ways to do that. The way I like is I could be wrong about this. I don't know everything. And agree to disagree. Agree to disagree is kind of overused, so I tend to say the following. I wish I saw it your way, because then we wouldn't argue. I hope we don't have to argue. I really like that phrase. I really wish I saw it your way, because I don't want to have a conflict with you about this. I respect your truth. I don't say I respect your perspective or your belief. Same problem with those words here as well. I respect your truth. I respect your truth. So what about some examples? And you can use 1, 2, or all 3 of these. You could lead with your opinion. That's the first example I'm going to give you. You could lead with your opinion. It doesn't have to be at the end of those techniques. Do you think I should take the medicine? All I know is I'd like you to take the medicine. See how I'm not saying I believe it'll help you, right? Or you should take it. Maybe I'm wrong for wanting this, fallibility. I hope we don't argue about this because there's things we agree on. I'd really rather focus on that. Then I ask permission. Would that be okay with you? Any questions at this point about this approach? I'm going to give you another example. Or concerns about it? No? Do you think I'm mentally ill? I like this one. This is a real one that happened. And I said, I think your thoughts and perceptions are different than most people. I don't need to be right. I just want to have a good relationship with you. What do you mean my thoughts and perceptions are different? What the hell does that mean? Do you think I'm mentally ill or not? I mean, I was hedging big time with this one. Well, since you asked, I'm really sorry I have this opinion. I wish I saw it the way you see it and your truth about this. Yes, I think that you have some kind of mental health condition, yes. I hope we don't have to fight about this. There's so much we agree on. That took about 5 seconds, 6 seconds. The LEAP approach does not take longer than what we typically do. In fact, it takes less time, and we have some research on this, because you're not getting into conflict and arguments. You're usually helping the person to de-escalate and be calmer. And so you end up talking a lot less because you're not fighting. Anybody had experience, because I guess there's some people who have read my book. Anybody had experience with delaying giving your opinion and had a hard time doing it? Difficulty? No? Okay. So it works. What's that?
I definitely do all the time. I'm not a mental health professional.
That's okay.
I'm an attorney.
Okay.
So people walk in and they're like, I'm right? And you're like, oh, hold on. We have to talk for an hour before I can tell you whether you're right. And the
Right.
answer is, I don't know, it depends.
Right.
So
Right.
still, after an hour.
After an hour? So they're very
Often, yeah.
agitated, pressured speech? Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, any client,
Okay.
right? So that happens to me all the time. But clients with mental illness,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like they just want to know, like, I'm not crazy, right? My belief that my wife has hacked my phone and is recording everything and knows all these things about me that I don't want her to know
Right.
that's real and I can prove it, and that's going to matter to the judge, right?
Right. Can I tell you what I think? I'm going to role play it with you. Can I tell you what I think? You ask permission to give your opinion.
Yeah.
Two things. I can use what the doctors have said about what you've just told me. And they've labeled it as symptoms of a mental health condition, of mental illness. You know, do you see why I'm interested in talking about that? Can you see why I think, as your advocate, I want to talk about that with the judge and call it a delusion? I'm so sorry that I'm calling it a delusion.
Oh, interesting.
What's that?
Not role playing. That's interesting. Like just saying people,
I lost you already. Okay.
like people are going to call it a delusion. So
Right.
I would just like us to get more comfortable with talking about it
Yeah.
that way in our conversation
Yeah.
together, even if that's not what it is.
Right. Right. Well, and in this instance, sometimes people will say, well, that's what the doctors think, and I hear that you're telling me I can use it. You can use it, but what do you think? It's important to me to know what you think. Do you ever get that? Yeah. Then I would just say, look, I'm sorry. I could be wrong. It seems to me that these are probably delusions. I don't say these are definitely delusions. These are delusions. I try to give some wiggle room in the interaction. These are probably delusions, and that's what I believe, and that's what I'd like to pursue.
What about a scenario where, like, can you redirect the source of the concern? So, like, I'm concerned that all of these behaviors together, like the behaviors, not your thoughts, but the behaviors that result from these thoughts, that the judge is going to be really concerned about that.
Yeah.
And that therefore the judge maybe is going to order something that you don't want to happen.
Right. Absolutely. That's fantastic.
Okay.
I think, and that's very consistent with this approach. And you're using some of the tools from the other side of your tool belt, you know, if we can go back to that metaphor. Yeah, I like that a lot. There's something else I wanted to say, because we just did this training with a whole bunch of public defenders, federal and state. There was something else. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things we said, and it's going to sound like I'm contradicting myself, is that when you are an attorney representing somebody with mental illness, what I hear from other attorneys I've worked with over the years, I know what I was going to say, worked with other attorneys, they've told me, you've got to spend more time with that person. And it's all about building the relationship, whether it's a call every day, every other day, whether it's visits that are much more frequent than with other clients who don't have mental illness. You got to put the time in, or you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to get fired, right? Have you ever been fired or threatened to be fired for pursuing mental health?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of my clients can't fire me.
Okay.
But
I've fired 2 attorneys. Wow. Okay, so you're locked in, right? Okay. Anybody else? Yes. Two people. If we can get the microphones, yeah. Okay, you can yell. Go.
Just on the topic of when asked your opinion, right? So I'm a family member, so there's a certain amount. I don't really care about being right necessarily, and definitely the relationship. I'm totally bought into that the relationship is more important than me being right.
Yeah.
But when asked your own opinion, it does seem like with all these tools, you end up with you want to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
So it's. I guess I'm just sort of remarking or trying to figure out how to balance between your honesty, but also continuing to. So I think what you're saying is you're doing like the delay.
Yeah.
You're doing the reflecting and you're listening and you're giving the impression and also
Yes, absolutely. LEAP is 100% honest, right? So when you say I'm fallible, you may want to say, obviously I don't think I am, but I recognize I could be wrong, right? And then the third thing is an appeal. I wish I saw it the way you see it. I really do, because I don't want to argue with you. It's a heartfelt appeal, and you don't. Whatever your circumstance, family member, law enforcement, judge, attorney, etc., peer specialist. You don't want to get into arguments with somebody and hurt the relationship. There's all sorts of things we can apologize for. In giving the opinion, that was one example. An involuntary treatment, right, that you participated in. Not sharing the same belief, with Jerry, it's about being married to Matt. I don't share that belief. I wish I did. Again, I love that phrase because I've gotten a lot of good results with that one. I really wish I did, because I don't want to argue with you. And I completely respect what you're telling me, that you are married. You are married to Matt. Right? Being disappointing or frustrating. Annoying the person with too much reflective listening. Why are you repeating back everything I'm saying? That will happen if you start to do this, or some of you have already started to try this. Acknowledge it. Did you read? If you're a family member, what'd you do? Read a book? Yeah, I did. I would suggest you tell them you've read. If they ask you which book, go read. I think there's free chapters on Amazon. I'm pretty sure where you can open the book. You can just say, yeah, I read a book called I'm Right, You're Wrong. Now what? That's a LEAP book that I wrote. I'm right, you're wrong, now what? I wouldn't say, yeah, I read a book called I'm Not Sick, I Don't Need Help. Doesn't go over very well. So I would invite you to, see if you can read a chapter of that. I think it's on Amazon. So that you can honestly say, yeah, I looked at a book that's called I'm Right, You're Wrong, Now What? And so annoying the person with too much reflective listening, you're right, I am doing that. The reason I'm doing that is because I want to make sure that you feel understood. I want to make sure that I've heard you. And then I'll stop if you want me to. Stop doing it if it's bothering the person. You can do other things, empathizing, find areas where you agree. You can delay giving your opinion. You can give your opinion in the way. You don't have to do reflective listening. It's a powerful tool for engaging and building that respectful, non-judgmental relationship. But it's not the only tool. Not doing what the person asked you to do. This young man who I role played was getting kicked out of a cooperative apartment in New York City that his parents owned. Because guess what he was doing? Banging on doors at 3 a.m, telling people to stop flushing their toilets. And I know what you're doing. So the co-op board was about to meet a few weeks down the road. He was an inpatient on our schizophrenia research ward at Columbia University in New York City. And he wanted me to write a letter addressed to the co-op board saying, I've evaluated him. It is my belief that people are trying to kill him, and they are using toilets to communicate, and that's why he's knocking on the doors. He does not have a mental illness. That was the last thing he wanted me to write. I couldn't write that letter, right? So I apologized. I said, I'm really sorry. I am not comfortable writing that letter. Why is that? I'm sorry, and I could be wrong about this. The way I see it, people aren't trying to kill you. But I could be wrong, and I don't want to argue. There's the opinion tool. You see how I wove those two together. The court ruling against you. I'm so sorry that happened. What? Are you sorry that happened? If you think somebody needs AOT, are you sorry that they got the AOT order? Of course not. But you are sorry, I hope, about the way it made the person feel that you're trying to help. Right? Is that fair? Wouldn't you feel, I'm sorry, I feel bad, because that must really be upsetting. Make you angry, make you feel hurt. I invite you, does anybody else think of things they might apologize for in circumstances you're involved in? Yes? Having to give a diagnosis. Yeah. And how do you handle it?
Everybody has an adjustment disorder until proved otherwise, right? So we just basically address it in terms of, hey, these are different labels, and this isn't who you are. And people are going to ask an opinion, and in order for us to continue serving you, sometimes we have to give an opinion that isn't everything, it isn't all of you.
That's great. I love that. That's great. Yeah. I really like that a lot. You know, I have to do it. I'm going to paraphrase and tell me if I got it right. I have to do it, and this is not who you are. This is a label that gets, you know, that I have to use. I have to use some kind of label. Yeah, that's great. So I got that right, basically? Okay. Anyone else? Yes?
I wonder if you would suggest or have a suggestion about apologizing for maybe another family member.
Apologizing for another family member?
The way that you spoke, you know in your mind that you're not understanding me, you're not listening me, and you're being really judgmental and hurtful.
Yep. My older brother wouldn't let Henry in the house, his house. I apologize for that. I'm really sorry that he's doing that to you. That's got to feel bad. You know, I'm building a connection, an empathic connection with them. Yeah. And I don't judge the older brother. He's wrong to do that. I don't get into that. Just I'm really sorry he's doing that. That's got to hurt. That's got to hurt. Anyone else? Yes.
My son has schizophrenia, but he doesn't think that he has schizophrenia.
He knows he doesn't have it, probably.
Exactly. He knows he doesn't have it, but his symptoms were such that he was punching himself. He was hurting himself. Good news is he's taking clozapine and doing quite well, and he's living with us, and everything's going real well.
That's great.
This method saved him and our whole family. When he is addressed with asking him if he has schizophrenia, and not by myself, but by, you know, someone else,
Right.
we say, or if he asks us, we say, the diagnosis doesn't matter. It's symptoms that we're treating here.
Yeah.
And that's how we
Yep.
work with that.
Yep. Remember, I think it was the last question in the morning session, somebody asked me about this anosognosia, wax and wane, or are you always unaware of all the symptoms? No. So if your son's aware that he's got disorganized speech and he's rambling and tangential, and people have a hard time understanding me, you can talk about that symptom. Or problems with sleep, you can talk about that symptom. Or staying out of the hospital is the big one that I use. You know, how do you end up in the hospital? Well, I stopped taking my medicine. If you're a parent and you call the crisis team, I'm really sorry, I wish I didn't think I needed to do that. It's just that I think that that's going to help you, you know. So there's lots of different ways to apologize, but refraining from telling the person, you made me do this because of the way you were behaving. Now, you could say the way you were behaving scared me when you were throwing glasses and plates. It really scared me, and this is the only thing I could think to do. And I'm so sorry I did it, because I know it was really traumatizing when the police came and you were handcuffed. That's what happened to Henry. Okay, one more, Gabriella?
I've heard you say this, another really useful way to use this apologize tool is to apologize when someone's not speaking to you. So a lot of times you're trying to help someone who is just non-communicative.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that. So a lot of times in families I work with, they're telling me I haven't talked to my son or daughter in 2 years. And then I start to do kind of an assessment. Well, when did that start? What happened? And typically it's when the family was telling that loved one they needed treatment, they're mentally ill. So why don't you, it's the same thing with my brother, why don't you apologize for that? Well, he won't talk to me, she won't talk to me. Do they take text messages? Well, yeah, we text a little bit. Put it in a text message. I've been thinking about it. I am so sorry for all the times I told you you were mentally ill and needed medication. I'm not going to do it anymore. Now, what about that statement? Anybody have trouble with that statement? Like the one I made to my brother, and I've made countless times to people with mental illness that I work with. I'm never going to tell you you're mentally ill. And you may have to in certain circumstances, like you mentioned, because it's a requirement of your job. But generally, you know, unless I am forced into it, I'm never going to tell you that you're mentally ill. What do you think about that promise? Anyone have a problem with that? Really?
Never.
Uh-huh.
Never in all ways to me are things I just don't say.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I do couples and family therapy. I always tell people don't make absolute statements. I generally have a trouble with never. I don't in this case because it's heartfelt and I really mean it because I don't want to hurt the person anymore. And the other reason I do it, they already know what I think. I don't have to repeat it because it's such an impactful thing that I've said to them previously. You're mentally ill and you need treatment. So impactful and hurtful. So I'm comfortable saying never, but if you're not comfortable, by all means, don't do it. You know, I'll try not to say this to you ever again. You know, that works pretty well too, I think. Yes?
I was going to say that you use those words because you come to believe that, and we're looking at all that up and thinking, all right, I might try to do some of these things, but I'm not sure that I would be disingenuous in doing that. Am I being two-faced and trying to do some of these things when I'm not sure I really believe them?
If you're doing it in a way that makes you feel two-faced, you're probably being two-faced. LEAP is 100% honest. If you're using this approach to be, have fidelity to it, you are being honest. So it's really learning the language, and it's a language that in a way that you're speaking honestly about things. So that's why I can say I'll never say this again unless it's required of me for my job. And they asked me to do a diagnostic label. They asked me to put a label on your belief that the aliens are transmitting thoughts into your head. I may have to call that a delusion. And I'm sorry, I wish I didn't have to do that. That's honest. I really wish I didn't have to do that. Because it's going to injure the relationship that is so important to help this person accept treatment for an illness they know they don't have. Does that answer your question? Or? Okay, thank you. Anyone? One more? Anyone? Yeah.
Well, I just want to follow up, because that's one of my fellow judges, and the question I have as judges that see the AOT clients to check in with us, is this the same method?
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't change that we're a judge and we're in a different position?
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, last year we trained over 140 federal magistrates, and they were all over this. And it was just magistrates in the room. There was nobody else. So it was really focused on what you guys are up against. So yes, I would use that language. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think it's helpful because I think my approach originally was it was my job to convince them that they had mental illness, and to when they said, well, I can't take my medication because I turn green. No, you really don't.
Yeah.
Like I was arguing.
Right.
So this is really helpful. So it doesn't change that we're in a different position.
No, not at all. In fact,
I think it's helpful.
In fact, it's even more powerful because are you up on the bench in a black robe, right? Scary. I'm an expert witness in a lot of cases, and my hands still shake for the first half hour. I don't reach for that freaking water, First half hour, it's in my lap, and then I'll reach for the water. I'm intimidated by you guys. Thank you for not wearing your robes. No, I know your people. I have attorney friends who say when their attorney colleagues become judges, the relationship changes. Yeah, it's kind of a lonely place to be, actually, for some judges I've talked to. So the power differential, it's really powerful to say, hey, we're kind of in this together. I'd like us to be in this together, right? If you're trying to convince the person with anosognosia, I can almost guarantee you that you're going to create resistance, defensiveness, and a lack of willingness to follow your suggestions. The other thing is you've got a big stick. You can speak softly, right? You can speak softly. Say things like, I really wish I saw it your way. I don't, and for that reason, I'm going to order this. Okay. One last one. Yes?
You kind of just answered my question with the last thing you said, but to follow up on her question, I'm thinking about the point of the hearing where the judge has to deliver the news that's contrary to everything that we've agreed,
Yeah.
that we've listened and we've reflected and all that. Any tips on how we deliver that
Yeah, I would use those 3 A's. Really sorry about this. I wish this wasn't my conclusion. I could be wrong. Well, if you think you're wrong, I don't think I'm wrong, but it's always possible. And then here's the ruling. Yeah. And how about language for a clinician?
Well, I say, well, I've heard all the evidence, and I have to rely upon the evidence. So, and
Yeah.
And I heard this evidence from Dr. So and
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
and I have to follow these very specific rules
Yeah.
of evidence, and
Yeah.
so I have to. I'm going to give a lot of weight to that evidence,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm going to find this way.
Yeah.
But we can always have a status hearing. I'll be happy to reconsider. If you want to go get your own clinician to testify otherwise, I will be delighted for you to. We'll keep this going. But maybe I shouldn't be blaming the clinician. Is why I asked this question.
I don't know if you're blaming the clinicians. It sounds to me, anyway, to my ears, like you're saying you have constraints. I'm sorry I have certain constraints. I don't know that I would say, I'm doing a lot of wordsmithing, so I hope it's helpful, not irritating. I wouldn't say I have to weigh this evidence more heavily. I don't know that I would say that, because then you're saying I believe them more than you. I would simply say I have to listen to them. That's a constraint I have, and I'm sorry. And is this an honest statement to the gentleman who asked about being honest? There you are. Would this feel honest? Yeah, I wish I didn't have to listen to them. Is that an honest statement? It is in my work as a clinician, and as I imagine myself being a judge. Because if I'm focused on the relationship, I really genuinely do wish I didn't have to get into conflict with the person and dismiss their reality, their truth. I really do wish that. I wish I saw it differently. I don't. Really wish I did. Doesn't take more time. Doesn't take more time. These short little phrases that are all about engaging. Okay, one more.
When you say, I wish I didn't have to, or I didn't feel, or, I almost am thinking that honestly, I wish, not that I didn't have to make these rulings, but I just wish all of this wasn't happening to the person, and I wish this whole situation would be a more, positive, happy.
Yeah.
So I think that even helps me, feel honest. I just wish
Yeah.
this wasn't, we weren't here today.
Yeah, that's great. That's so empathic, right? I might add at the end of that, because I know this can't feel comfortable for you. It must be upsetting for you. I'm getting ahead to the empathy tool.
I actually wouldn't say all that, though.
Okay.
In my mind, I'm saying, I wish, but, but do you think I should say something?
Well, I don't think you should. I think you should consider that this might be a thing you want to add. I wish, I didn't have to do this. It must be, I would ask the person the question, how do you feel about this? Well, I'm really angry about it. I'd be angry too. Then why are you doing it? I have these constraints. I use that word a lot. And there's rules I have to follow. And when clinicians tell me you've got a mental illness, I've got to work with that. Wish I didn't. And why is that an honest statement? It's only honest if you're coming from your heart that you don't want to hurt the person. So then I wish I didn't have to do that. For me, anyway, is an honest statement. I mean, let's rephrase it. I wish I didn't have to devastate you. I wish I didn't have to hurt you. I wish I didn't put you in a position where you're being controlled, right? But here we are. You guys are great. Well, I kind of want to keep going, but let's not, because there'll be time for questions. We strategically make sure we're expressing empathy for feelings coming from these 3 domains. If the person has delusional beliefs, most of the time, not always, people aren't willing to empathize with that, reflect that back, because it makes them uncomfortable. And so those feelings are particularly important. The fear, if someone's manic, the excitement they have about the special relationship they have with Britney Spears or whoever. That's just one that I'm remembering. The feelings that come from the anosognosia that the person has. What kind of feelings do you imagine come from that? Huh? Yeah. Frustration, all the things we talked about with Jerry. Anger, frustration, suspiciousness, loneliness, right? So those feelings, you want to pay attention to those. It's a wonderful way to gain the person's trust and their understanding that you really are wanting to be on their side and that you are on their side. And then what they want, of course, the feelings about what they want. Normalize the experience. What does that mean? After you empathize, I'd feel the same way. I think anybody in your position would feel the same way. You normalize it. You level the playing field, right? I feel the same. Well, then why are you ruling against me if you're a judge? I could be wrong. Don't think I am. And I'm sorry I'm ruling against you. You could say this also. I've heard people say this. I just wouldn't sleep at night if I didn't do it this way. We disagree. And I respect your truth about this. I wish we didn't disagree. I know I don't want to have a debate or I don't want to try to convince you is another phrase that we love to use. I don't want to try to convince you of anything here. And what is the purpose of LEAP? This is really important, really central. LEAP is not to change somebody's belief or beliefs. It's to change their behavior, to help them decide to behave differently, right? To participate in the AOT, to participate in the treatment. It's all about behavior change. It's not about attitude change or belief change. And that's why it's kind of counterintuitive, because we want to try to convince the person. We're looking for insight. We want to fan the flames of insight. If it works, LEAP is also very empirical. If that's working, by all means, keep doing that. That said, it's not my belief. That was mentioned earlier. It's my belief that this would be helpful. It's based on empirical evidence. I see what happens when I say things like, I think you really need medication, versus, I'd like you to try it. I'd like you to be on it. Sorry that I want that. Wish I didn't. I do. So let's do some examples. Well, I already mentioned this. Why these emotions in particular? Because these are the ones that leave the person feeling really alone and really isolated. Everyone around them, pretty much everyone around them, believes they're mentally ill, they need treatment, they must have treatment, and the person's isolated and alone. So with these feelings, you're building a connection to their experience as lonely people. Let's do a role play where you're blending reflective listening with empathy. You don't have to remember anything. It's in the red bubble, right? I'm not stupid. You just want to control me. So how would you reflect that back? Let me see if I understand. You're not stupid. I'm just trying to control you. Did I get that right? Yes. So your job when you volunteer, I know that many of you will, is to then ask me how I feel and empathize with it, right? And remember, the empathy also includes normalizing it. So ending with, I'd feel the same way, anyone would. You'd like to try this? This is just blending the two together, reflective listening and empathy. Okay, ready? What's your name? Abby. Abby? It's not Terry? Or Jerry? I know it's Jerry, guy. Someone's like, it's Jerry. I finally know it's Jerry. All right, you ready? Well, let me say it first, because I like saying it. I'm not stupid. You're just trying to control me.
So I hear you saying that you're not stupid, that I'm just trying to control you. That sounds awful.
No, you're rushing to empathy. You don't know how he feels yet. You haven't asked him. Locus of control. Yeah. Well, see, it seems easy, but it takes practice. You also didn't ask me if I felt you heard me. You skipped right over that. So let's do it again. I'm not stupid. You're just trying to control me. There's your microphone. No. No, you know what? If you weren't doing this, this is what we missed this morning. It's these kind of habits that we have that interfere with acquiring these skills.
Sure.
So, empathizing instead of reflecting, or assuming you know what the person feels, and your assumptions are probably right. But the locus of control, when you ask the question, did I get that right? When you ask the question, how do you feel about that, is with them. They can decide to tell you or not. They have control of the conversation. So I'm not stupid, you're just trying to control me.
So I hear you saying that you're not stupid and that I just want to control you. How does that make you feel?
You did the same thing all over again. That's great. No, don't you dare put that microphone. She's trying to give the microphone
Oh, is that
away.
correct?
Take this.
No, can I pass them? It's fine.
You said you skipped over the how does that make you feel? Did I get that right? Did I get that right?
Oh, did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, we can move on to someone else and give you a break. But no, I'm really glad that you volunteered and that you're doing this. It's for some people it's easy, for most people it's not. It was hard for me to learn to do this. How about one more volunteer? As a psychotherapist, I was trained psychoanalytically at first, then I learned cognitive behavioral therapy and motivational interviewing. But as a psychoanalytic psychotherapy, we learn to be really quiet and wait. So I can be quiet and wait. Oh, we have a volunteer. Okay. What's your first name?
Can you hear me? My name's Kaylin.
Kaylin, I'm not stupid. You're just trying to control me.
It sounds like you're saying you're not stupid and I want to control you. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yes.
How does that make you feel?
I'm pissed off about it. I'm sick and tired of it. I'm really angry.
Yeah. I can see why that would make you angry. I would love some feedback.
No, keep going.
Oh, okay. Is it my turn or your turn?
That's your turn. It's not mine.
Yeah, I can see why that would make you angry. Thank you for sharing.
Very good. You missed the part of normalizing it.
Normalizing, okay.
So how would you normalize it?
Can you tell me what you said for the response to how does that make you feel? Again, can you repeat that?
I feel the same way. Anyone would feel that same way if they were in your position.
Oh, no. I was asking you to
repeat the line?
Repeat how the consumer felt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
hey,
I'm sorry.
I'm not stupid. You're just trying to control me.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're not stupid and I just want to control you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
And how does that make you feel?
It makes me scared of you. Really scared. I don't like talking to you. It makes me scared.
I can see why that is scary. Anyone would feel that way in this situation.
Nice. Okay, perfect.
This guy helped me.
That's great.
It's taking too long to think.
Perfect. So if I understood you, you're not stupid. I'm just trying to control you. Did I get that right? Yes. If I was in your shoes, I'd feel the same way. I didn't ask how you feel. How do you feel about that? It makes me really depressed and defeated. I feel like there's nothing I do matters. You know what? If I was in your position, I'd feel the same way. I'd feel depressed and defeated by that. I think anyone would. Right? You're normalizing the feelings. So some examples of empathy. Yes, I'm angry. I'm being forced to take medicine. This is usually inpatient. It's hard to force medicine, but sometimes people feel with all the pressure they're getting from family and clinicians that they're being forced. I'm being forced to take medicine. I'd be angry too if I were in your place. Anyone would be. So I'm just normalizing there. I'm sick and tired of you saying that I need help. You sound angry and exhausted because I keep saying you need help, right? Now in this case, I put the question at the end. It doesn't matter where you put the question. The question is, did I understand you? In this instance, I put it at the end. So the spirit of this is to, and there's reflective listening in that question. Thank you. is to ask the person if you got it right. All I need is to get married and get a job. I don't need any treatment. You sound really, really frustrated because all you need is to get married and get a job. Did I get that right? That's not on the slide. Did I get that right? Yeah. You know, I'd feel the same way if I were you. That's not on the slide. Anyone would. I hate these drugs. I'm not sick, and I'm angry you're telling me I have to take them. If I understood you, you're not mentally ill. You hate the drugs. You resent me for telling you to take them, right? You know, I'd be angry too. Anyone would be if they were in your position. It doesn't take a long time to say these things. I'm pissed off that you keep trying to control me. If I heard you, you're angry that I'm trying to control you. Right? Locus of control with the other person. You know, I'd be pissed too, normalizing it. Lots of things we can find agreement on. Staying out of the hospital, not getting arrested, staying out of jail, complying with court orders so that you don't get the negative consequences of not doing that. Having the crisis team called. I don't want to call the crisis team on you or the police. And then we partner on those goals that we agree can be partnered on together. If you're trying to agree and partner on the person being mentally ill, it's a loser out of the gate if they have anosognosia. You're just one of those that hosts that ugly chorus that is telling them they're wrong, they're sick, this person's sick, they need to be in treatment before anything good can happen in their lives or before they can get their lives back. So those are the things we partner on. You know, staying out of the hospital. In the interest of time, I'm going to jump over these. Complying with a court order, avoiding a crisis to the crisis team, and then you would say what you would like the person to do so that you wouldn't have to do those things, or you could help them to accomplish those things. Listen without judgment, reactions, contradictions. Empathize strategically for feelings coming from those three areas: anosognosia, delusions, what the person wants. And then find areas of agreement and really emphasize and repeat those areas of agreement. And that's what you try to partner on, right? And it may be just a small number of things, maybe one thing you can agree on, but if it's a pivotal thing that leads to their acceptance and adherence to a court order, then that's a really good one to partner on. Delay giving hurtful and contrary opinions. Redirect the person so you have opportunity for reflective listening and empathizing. And ask permission. Put that person in control of the conversation. We give our opinion with humility and in a way that respects the person's perspective. And we apologize for interactions that were hurtful or made the person angry. Right? This is just like learning a new language. You can't come to this talk, you can't read my book or both of the LEAP books and become fluent. It's like taking a Spanish or a Russian course and expect to become fluent. You've got to immerse yourself in people who are speaking the same language. So practice. I had a client, I had a person in my courtroom in a hearing that I had to rule and give an AOT order. And would you play that person for a minute? Here's what he said. You say that to a colleague, and you have the colleague role play the person, and then you get the practice reflective listening, and you ask your colleague or another family member, be this person I told you about. So, keep in the role. How would you feel if you heard me do that? Well, are you saying you agree with me? Promise I'll answer that question. Before I do, can you tell me more about what I said and how it makes you feel? Would that be okay? Yes. But I really want to know. Well, I'm sorry, I could be wrong. This is what I think. So I just used 3 of the tools, right? You just weave them together. General guidelines. These are guidelines. The first thing you want to do is absorb what was heard, right? That usually involves reflective listening. Emotionally connect with the person. So that's going to involve empathy and apologies. So they feel we care about them. This is controversial for a lot of people, even that we love them. Can you love someone who appears in your courtroom? Or a client that you're working with, or if you're a police officer, someone that's in crisis that you're meeting in their front yard. I would argue yes, and that's been my experience. We all, many of us have work relationships, friendships, and we have a kind of a love for the people that we work with. But those are relationships with boundaries, not with benefits, right? Those are relationships with boundaries. And these are people that we never invite over to our house, or maybe don't even give our cell phone number to. So it's a little controversial when I use the word love, but for me, it really is a form of love. Loving communication, caring and loving communication. Once you've absorbed what you've heard, emotionally connected, then you can start to get to the nuts and bolts, right? And start to problem solve. Use each of these tools as you need them. Thank you very much. December 13th, again, I just want to say we're excited about this. We're working together with TAC. There's going to be presentations from TAC, and also we're going to dive deeper into learning these tools. So thank you, and go to hacenter.org if you want more resources. Thank you. And can we thank our volunteers?